Victor Wembanyama is in New York. I'm not telling where the ladies to pull up to tonight. Just saying. I'm gonna catch you one. Big Vic is in the Bronx tonight. Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, D. Sam D, aka Sam Jr. Tuesdays that feel like Mondays. Not a fan, but here we are. There's a lot going on. Not necessarily breaking news, but I think some interesting news about a potential flip of something we've been talking about. Y'all saw the title when you clicked. You know what it is. You also see it down there in the topic bar. We'll be hitting that first. Bam Adebayo? The whole narrative was Dame going to South Beach. Bam going to the great Pacific Northwest. Rip City, the PDX. Let me know your thoughts. Chat is active. All right, the point fraud out here lying, trying to get that sympathy because Mans is being waived, traded. It don't matter. The Suns didn't want him no more. And Mans is now even trying to besmirch the name of a better point guard than him to try to clean up his own image. That's y'all point guard. Oh man, there's some mock draft stuff. No one's willing to jump out the window and say Vic ain't going number one. But I'm saying though, it's interesting to see what happens with this second pick, the third pick, so on and so forth. So there's a lot to get into. We'll be locked in. Y'all know how I do. I see the chat is open early. Dre was good. Thomas was good. Yeah, Dre. NBA offseason. It's the best out of all the sports. That's big facts. That's big facts. You know, a lot of people like to talk about NFL, it's the most popular sport. That's all cool. But when it comes to that consistent salaciousness, the constant T, it's NBA hands down. Thomas was good, man. Was good. Fresh off that Juneteenth holiday. You already know the vibes. Dre, NBA is the best sport. Big facts. Big facts. It's a sport that I have, been enamored with ever since I started playing back in the days and been lucky enough to cover a lot of games and play ball with some high-level players. So it's such a great sport. I think, sadly, it's still underrated. Basketball as a sport, insanely underrated. Thomas out here. That's not his point guard. Okay, I respect it. Y'all know he not mine. I'm just saying there's still some people, and they actually rock with my content, but they still out here riding with the point fraud. I don't get it. But it is what it is. Real quick, as we trail the bed here, Big Vic is in the tri-state. He is in the Bronx. Ladies, do not try to get Big Vic caught up like Shorty tried to do Zion. Let's leave that man alone. Let's leave Big Vic alone. Let's let him at least get into the league before y'all start the run game, okay? Let him throw out the first pitch and get his shine off and do all the stuff he needs to do as we get into Thursday night, where he's going to be the projected number 1 overall pick. And I think it's the most interesting part is that Zion finally got a team that was strong enough to get Shorty's account suspended. Finally. She disappeared for a little bit last week, but then she spun the block and came back. I don't know if now it's officially is she's dunzo or not? I don't know. I don't know if she's absolutely dunzo this time around, but she is finally up out of here, okay? For right now, okay? FTC suspended after hundreds of tweets directed at Zion over the last couple of weeks. So it's a lot going on there. And one last little quick thing before we get into story number 1. I told you so. I told you so. I told you when McAfee shook the spot, I said, who gonna try to go get that FanDuel bag that Mans is leaving behind? And here comes your man's Unc getting Drip Bayless up out of here and riding over to FanDuel to scoop up whatever's left of that 4 years and $120 million that McAfee left behind. I know people think, I just be saying stuff, but if you know, you know. But anywho, let's jump into topic number one. Bam Adebayo? Are we really about to do that? Portland's trying. As you see here, according to Yahoo Sports and according to their senior NBA reporter, Portland is determined to improve around Damian Lillard and holds interest in Bam Adebayo. So we are definitely not going to read all of this though, right? But there are a couple of different passages that I think are of note based off what we've been discussing ad nauseum on this stream, okay? So we'll jump to right here in the middle, right? The Blazers view this entire offseason as their canvas to fortify a contender around Lillard. Not just this week's NBA draft and free agency will bring additional opportunity to bolster this roster beyond plans to re-sign Jeremy Grant. Okay, so we've been trying to figure out, are they trying to bring back Jeremy Grant? According to this reporting, that is something that they plan to do. So Jeremy Grant still in the fold, allegedly, for the Portland Trail Blazers. So Portland has been exploring avenues to deal the number 3 pick, but in a draft that scouts have deemed holds 3 top prospects, which we all know, Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, and Scoot Henderson. The Blazers are strongly valuing their selection in talks with opposing teams, sources said. Now, look, that's something I've been screaming from the mountaintops. Like, yo, why are you trying to get rid of the 3rd pick? Whoever you get for that 3rd pick is not going to be better than Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons combined. That's what we exactly have been detailing on this stream for about a week and change. So I'm glad that, look, YouTube's a very popular platform. People watch streams. Maybe they finally talk some sense into the Portland brass. Like, why are we trying to trade Scoot and Anthony Simons? This doesn't make sense. So here we go. Portland appears unlikely to part with the number 3 choice unless the Blazers are netting back one of a select number of premium targets to pair with Lillard. According to one source with knowledge of the situation, Portland is preparing what the team believes to be a compelling package for Miami to part with all defensive centerpiece Bam Adebayo. So now we know how Dame has said Bam's his boy, right? That's what he was saying on pods a few weeks ago, right? Bam's my boy. Of course I want to go hoop with Bam. We all assumed that meant Dame wants to go to South Beach. Now we're getting reports, well, maybe, kind of, sort of, we can get Bam out here to the Pacific Northwest. Rip City, PDX. Maybe we could get Bam out here. But that means the 3rd overall pick and Anthony Simons. So that means you're going to give up Scoot and Anthony Simons for Bam Adebayo. Now, you will still have Shaedon Sharpe, and they said that they plan to bring back Jeremy Grant. Is that a core that makes sense? Now, the Portland still does have the 23rd pick. Could they be able to get Bam Adebayo with the 23rd pick instead of the 3rd? Can they flip Anthony Simons and the 23rd overall pick for Bam Adebayo? So that way, now you got Scoot, Dame, Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, Bam Adebayo. You could throw in Nurkic, you could throw in Cam Reddish. But that core 5, Dame, Bam Adebayo, Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant. How do y'all like that as a core? Let me know in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, let me know in the comments. I'll continue on. So this goes into how Bam and Dame have a relationship, right? He and Lillard played together for Team USA in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and have developed a close friendship. But the Heat but the Heat have primarily searched to supplant Adebayo in recent transaction cycles, sources said, and have not pondered a future without him starting in the front court. So this means that, they're not trying to trade Bam. But if they dangle that third pick and Anthony Simons, then maybe it's something, right? Miami's brass seems very unlikely to consider any Portland overture that doesn't include standout rookie Shaedon Sharpe in addition to a package of the number 3 pick in Anthony Simons that the Blazers, sources said, have made available in discussion with other teams. Bruh, if that's what it's going to take to get just Bam Adebayo, then again, trade Damian Lillard. It's never going to work. If you're going to be held hostage just because Dame wants to stay in Rip City but get his man's Bam to pull up, and I got to give up Scoot. So now I'm not just giving up Scoot and Anthony Simons. Now I got to give up Shaedon Sharpe too? Bruh, this is insane if Portland does this. This is hella problematic, and I know that this would be hyperbole. If I'm Chauncey Billups, I reconsider my job if they do this. Bam Adebayo and Dame ain't enough, bruh. Bam and Dame are not enough. I'm having a hard time giving up Anthony Simons in the 3rd pick for Bam. I'm trying to get them to take that 23rd pick. Now you're telling me I got to give up Scoot, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe for Bam, who the Denver Nuggets were allowing to score all the points in the finals because they knew that's how to beat the Heat? Bruh, make it make sense. This doesn't make a lick of sense to me. This seems hella problematic. How can the Portland Trail Blazers look their fans, look Chauncey Billups, look their other players in the face and try to tell them this is how we get better? By trading off 3 top-tier prospects, one of which has clearly proven himself in Anthony Simons. Shaedon Sharpe flashed a lot in the second half of the year, and Scoot is going to be one of those. There was another scouting comparison today that I saw about Scoot. Oh, he's like Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook. Yeah, we've been saying that. That's not some revelation. You didn't unearth anything. But the fact that we're here, Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and Scoot, for someone the Nuggets were begging to shoot in the NBA Finals. I'm sorry, Dame. I know you don't want to go, and there's a lot of people that's hot taking about Dame now. Oh, Dame needs to make his mind up. We've been saying that right here on this stream for about 2 weeks. I got clips on this channel that's saying it's time to move on from Dame, telling him to make his mind up. Now we got blue check boys and girls on their platforms running with it. This is what's happening in real time. Y'all are seeing it. Imagine having to give up. Shaedon, look, we're going to have to go ahead and go to Basketball Reference early. I didn't know we were going to go Basketball Reference early. Well, let's go ahead and go there. I don't think people understand. I know he's a rookie, and I know people could just like, who is he? I didn't really keep up with him. Bruh, this is what he did towards the end of the year, okay? Let me make sure y'all can see all of that. Let me make sure. Yep, all right. His last 5 games, 27, 27, 20, 26, 18, and more importantly, look at the shots he was taking. He was being uber aggressive and putting the 3 ball up. And that, as a rookie in the league, this isn't horrible for a rookie in the league. Getting to the line, grabbing some boards, getting some dimes. This is who Shaedon Sharpe is. He can go. There's a reason why Miami's trying to get him in this trade, because he can go. If you're trying to, if you're moving on from Bam Adebayo, which I'm not saying the Heat should not do, by the way, but if you're going to move on from Bam Adebayo, yeah, you better go get a whole bunch of youngins. The problem is that's what Portland should be doing with Damian Lillard. Moving on and getting more Shaedon Sharps instead of trading Shaedon Sharps for a Bam Adebayo. This is how you rebuild. Now, I don't think Portland's dumb enough to do this. And that Shaedon Sharp, let's go ahead to Anthony Simons. Because again, I know the Blazers, once Dame was kind of out the mix, a lot of people kind of checked out on the Blazers, but not me. Anthony Simons, right? Last year, 21, couple boards, couple dimes. The main thing for him is, you see this three-point shooting? 38%. 38% from three as a youngin'. Okay? Now, you want to talk about progression. This man was riding the pond, getting no love. Riding the pond, getting no love. And then he flashed in year 4. 17 points. And he started the second half of the year after they moved on from C.J. McCollum. And then last year, as a permanent starter, this is what he was able to do. 9 threes a game. So again, we talked about guys that shoot a high percentage, but they only take 2, 3, 4 threes a game. This is someone that takes 9 threes a game, and he's shooting them at 38%. And he's taking 17 shots a night. That's a high value. Has a high volume for a guy that's in his 5th year in the league. So you're giving up Shaedon Sharp, who flashed. You're giving up Anthony Simons, and y'all know how I feel about Scoot, but now you're getting the big name personalities that are finally watching enough YouTube highlights to get a feel of what Scoot is, and now they're gushing over Scoot. 3 for 1 for a Bam Adebayo? On what planet, bruh? Let's go ahead to the chat. All right, people say NFL's biggest sport. Yeah, nah, I mean, look, it's different. It's different. The NBA is a different type of sport. NFL is huge here. It's an American sport. It is tailor-made for American television, so it works that way. But in terms of excitement and tea like this, and scenarios like this, you don't get this type of stuff in the NFL. You just don't. Thomas. Yep. That's what she said. Yep. Yeah, man, the rumors have been out there, but now we're getting concrete information that stuff is on the table. So I wouldn't even trade Dame to Miami at this point. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't trade Dame because Miami doesn't have anything that I think Portland could rebuild around. I'm not trying to rebuild with no Tyler Hero. Nope. I'm not trying to do it. Dre, Portland wants Paul George for the 3rd pick. Should Clippers do it? Nope. Good luck trying to convince boardman Kawhi Leonard to come out here and try to push to play 60 games when he's looking across at Scoot Henderson. And as much as I like Scoot and Anthony Simons, that's a hard sell to Kawhi. If you move PG from the Clippers, I would not be surprised, even though it's tough, man, because Kawhi is so difficult to read. It would be interesting to see if Kawhi decides, you know what, maybe this Clipper thing is kind of a wrap. And then who trades for a, no cartilage left in his knee, a degenerative knee, Kawhi Leonard? Who knows? But no, I would, if I'm the Clippers, I wouldn't do it, because then you're definitely waving the white flag, even though you're rebuilding. And I think once you can if clearly you're going to get the Paul George contract off the books, but now you don't have the picks that you gave up for him, and you don't even have the player. Like that's definitely waving a white flag of futility, right? Like that's waving a white flag, because you're not only saying, all right, we realize PG, Pandemic P, and Boardman, Kawhi Leonard aren't good enough to get us over the hump. So we're just going to punt on this whole thing. They're still trying to get into that new building out there in Inglewood. Like, they need this Paul George Kawhi thing a couple more seasons until that building is finished. Then they could maybe revisit this whole thing. But for, image reasons, for PR reasons, for season ticket plan reasons, they need not just Kawhi, they need PG there as well. So, I think this story has a lot of legs to it. I think it's interesting that, if Miami can do this, they have to do it. And if Jimmy Butler has a problem with it, I'm going to say, yo, dogs, have you seen Scoot? Have you seen Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe? They're all going to come here to help you. You indoctrinate them in that, heat culture bullshit, and away we go over the next 4, 5, 6 years. Because remember, Jimmy's contract gets horrible after next year. We're going to be making 50, 60 M's for an older Jimmy Butler. Like, we kind of got a preview of what old Jimmy Butler's going to look like over the last, they lost in 5 games and they went to 7. Over the last 7 basketball games we watched the Miami Heat play, we kind of got a glimpse of what old Jimmy Butler's going to look like. And they're going to be paying that man about 50 to 60 M's at the very end of it. So go get a Shaedon Sharpe. Go get an Anthony Simons. Go get a Scoot that can maybe, just like the Warriors were trying to do, allegedly, with Steph, and elongate his prime by bringing in all these youngins who can, help ease up the load. Clearly, the Miami Heat need to do the same with Jimmy Butler. When he's still your primary number one option, that's a problem. And as much as Tyler Hero, yeah, you could say, oh, they missed him and he's a starter, sure, but he's a one-dimensional player. Now, that one dimension is scoring, but he's still not a better threat than Jimmy Butler. It's not like Tyler Hero can supplant Jimmy Butler as a number one option. So the Heat in this deal, if they do wave the flag on Heat culture and trade Bam Adebayo, I'm not mad if this is the haul. Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot, and Anthony Simons. You get a guy in Scoot who can really control the ball and could give Jimmy possessions off. Anthony Simons could do the same, and he could stretch the floor with his shooting ability. And Shaedon Sharpe is a wing that can learn under Jimmy, similar size to a degree. But Shaedon Sharpe was way better right now offensively than Jimmy ever was at this point in his career. So there's a lot here that if I'm Miami, I do it. If I'm Portland, I don't know why you're giving up all of this. Now, if you're telling me Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, and the 23rd pick, because we know they have the 23rd pick in this Thursday's draft via Knicks tape. But if that was the move, then that's something we could discuss. I still don't like it because you're still giving up 2 really top-tier youngins, in my opinion. Anthony Simons heading into year 6, you want to debate if he's still a youngin, fine. But a good young player that's turning into his own, Shaedon Sharpe, who's a rookie who flashed heavily in the second half of the year, and the 23rd pick, that's more reasonable. But that 3rd pick that we know is going to be Scoot or maybe Brandon Miller, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. Dame needs to tell them what to do, and Dame needs to figure out, well, first of all, Dame needs to figure out what he wants. He's saying the things of, oh, he doesn't want to go nowhere, and that's fine. The problem is, I don't know if we actually believe him. What else we got here? All right, we'll touch on some of that stuff later. So, in regards to getting Dame more help, Dame's been active on the TL specifically today. Damian Lillard liked the tweet that calls for Zion Williamson to go to Portland. Go in Dame's likes, and right there, get him to the Blazers at Dame Lillard. Dame liked the tweet. So, of course, people are going to take that and run with it. But this is how stuff operates now. Players are active on the TL. And if they see something like this and someone is reaching out saying, yo, go get him to the Blazers, yeah, I'm going to like that. Because I think ultimately Dame does want to stay. He wants to get it done in Portland. It makes the most sense for him. However, if they don't trade that pick and they take Scoot at 3, what's the move, Dame? Or you see here, in this updated mock draft, they got Scoot going 2 to Charlotte. Now, that would be interesting. We've talked about that scenario before in regards to LaMelo, Scoot, how would that work? But even if that does happen, Brandon Miller is a guy that fits the criteria of what Dame was asking his team to go get. Paul George is about 6'8", 6'9". Bam Adebayo is about 6'9". Now, defensively, Brandon Miller is not on their level. However, offensively, he's already better than Bam. And his ceiling is that of PG when it comes to offense. So if Dame really wants to do it and do it in Portland, he needs to tell them, yo, keep that 3rd pick, whether it's Scoot or Brandon Miller, we'll figure it out. Bring back Jeremy Grant. I got Shaedon Sharpe. I got Anthony Simons. Like, this is how you build it. The Milwaukee Bucks had Giannis. They had Chris Middleton. They had all these types. And then they went and go get a Drew Holiday, and he was the missing piece. Drew Holiday wasn't a superstar, but he was a guy that was the missing piece. The Blazers are not a missing piece away. They're not one piece away. They need a lot of help to leapfrog a lot of teams in this league. They need a lot of help to go from 13th in the West to 6th. They need more than just one guy. Paul George is not enough. Brandon Ingram, Young Reaper, is not enough. Hell, even Zion is not enough. So while you're out here liking tweets, where is it? While you're out here liking tweets about Zion hooping with you in Rip City, that ain't it, bruh. You need more than that. Because to get Zion, you're going to have to give up pieces that a man of your skill set should be able to build around. If you're truly a point guard, and I've been getting into a lot of debates about if Dame's a point guard, where is he now in this league? Is he still top 5? Is he whatever? If Dame is really a point guard like y'all keep telling me he is, why can't he make it work with another dynamic scoring guard in Anthony Simons, a big guard / wing that has flash to show you he could go for 20 pieces at this level as a rookie in Shaedon Sharpe, and potentially a jack-of-all-trades combo hybrid guard in Scoot Henderson? If he's so nice, if he's still that dude, why can't he make it work with all of those pieces? I would love to know why. Because if you're telling me, well, I mean, that's not enough in the West. But then who said Zion in him is enough in the West? Who said Paul George in him is enough in the West? Who said Bam Adebayo in him is enough in the West? Whoever they bring in by flipping the 3rd pick, which we are assuming is Scoot or Brandon Miller and Anthony Simons, is it going to be enough? Oh, Magic Man is still in here and he hasn't changed his name back yet. He's still got the Messi Abbey though. We call him Young Reaper. Young Reaper is B.I. I know you don't like the real Slim Reaper, so I get it, but you know we call Young Reaper, we call B.I. Young Reaper on these streets. KD can make anything else work. Okay, again, chat understand Magic Man is very anti Kevin Durant. I'm surprised he wasn't airing you out on the timeline today. KD had time to air people out on the Elon app today. All right. So that's that. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts on this whole thing of Dame, and is he wasting the Portland Trailblazers' time by trying to investigate all these potential moves? Because, we're looking at giving up three top-tier young talents for Bam Adebayo? Why? Why are we doing that? Why would you ever do that? What about Bam Adebayo? Just because he's mans with Dame, that's it? Like, that's literally it. Because you can't tell me this team is that much better. Portland is X amount of games better by losing Scoot Henderson's potential, Shaedon Sharpe's potential, and Anthony Simons' peak. You can't tell me losing those three young pieces is equal to or lesser than Bam Adebayo. It's really weird, bro. All right. We'll slide on over to your man's the point fraud. And your man's the point fraud is out here lying. And I froze it right on that frame by design. Chris Paul, the point fraud, says he found out he was traded on a flight to New York for his Good Morning America appearance. Quote, in this league, anything could happen. You just figure out what's next. He's got a new book out that he's doing promo for. Whatever. Right? So everyone watched this clip and is just believing. Again, this man has done so much to show that he is untrustworthy. Yet, even still, he's able to show up, clean cut, a lot of bezels, got the white teeth whitening and all. He's able to get all of this off. He's promoting a book, all this type of stuff, and he's able to get these lies off. You telling me the former president of the NBPA, who was instrumental in circumventing the CBA to allow him this contract that he just got traded with in this deal? The man who was ducking and hiding when all the Robert Sarver stuff was out? You're telling me the man that has, taken it upon himself to make himself to be endeared by not just the public, but throughout the NBA fraternity? You're telling me this guy didn't know he was being traded when he was being waived prior? When the report came down and he was waived, and the point fraud used the same guy here, Chris Haynes, to get his narrative out there. You're telling me there was no communication between him and the Suns? We supposed to believe that? Y'all know I don't believe that, but there's others that don't believe that. And here's a radio host out here in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, and he's airing out the point fraud. Because also in this little piece that he had here on Good Morning America, he kept mentioning Isaiah. Isaiah is Zeke. Isaiah Thomas, that guy, the real point guard. Isaiah Zeke Thomas. He kept mentioning that I guess Isaiah and them didn't want me. I guess they had other plans, I believe was the quote. So now we have an Arizona radio host who allegedly has ties, saying that the point fraud insinuating that Isaiah Thomas had a role in him getting traded to Washington is absurd. From my understanding, when the Suns brass met with Beal, it was James Jones, Matt Ishbia, Frank Vogel, and Josh Bartelstein, or Steen, not sure. Thomas was not a part of it. And then we have him. He's in the comments replying to people. This is a shame. Point fraud did great things here, and he could leave with his head held high. This is a business. So the point fraud is out here creating narratives, and as usual, the public just takes it and rolls with it and falls for it. This is y'all point fraud. This is y'all point fraud. Y'all have built this man up to be able to get these lies off on national television. I'm telling you, he swooned y'all. He wooed y'all by wearing different HBCU hoodies. He got y'all. He got y'all. He sucked y'all in. He started wearing all them HBCU hoodies, and y'all fell for it. It's got to be for the culture. He's got on he's got on a HU. He's got both HU hoodies on. Like he's doing it all. He's got a Morehouse and a Spelman hoodie. He's killing them out here. He's got to be on point. He's got an A&T hoodie. He's got to be killing it. Fraudulent. Fraudulent. Speaking of Phoenix, this tweet has been viral over the past couple of days since the trade has been announced, because how prophetic. On February 2nd, so on 2/2/22, point fraud, you are a wizard. And then someone in the comments also on 2/2/22, CP for Beal confirmed. I'll just leave that right there for y'all. I'll just leave that right there for y'all. All right. Thomas, point fraud, he knew all the time. Yeah, I mean, you don't have the alleged acumen, the power, the prowess, the access that he's been given, access to Adam Silver, access to GMs. He makes business deals with NBA owners. You're telling me Ishbia pulled up, James Jones pulled up, Frank Vogel, who just got there, pulled up. Like, clearly you knew your days were numbered, right? If they were trying to leak that you were going to get waived a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, we're now supposed to believe, oh, well, they didn't call me. I didn't know nothing. I found out on the plane when my son texted me. Well, how's that the case when you found out a week and a half to 2 weeks ago that they were going to waive your ass? What's the difference? And you got a bag. In the meantime, they did right by you. Because if you don't know, let's go ahead to this. The point fraud got some extra money in this deal. The point fraud out here was scheduled to make 15.8 mil. Half was going to be guaranteed, and they would have had a deadline, I believe, of next week to guarantee the rest of the amount, which would have made it, I believe, close to 30 mil. So what they did was they gave the point fraud 10 more mil just to be gone. They paid you extra money to go away. They gave you extra bread and you're still out here on national television airing these people out. In this league, anything can happen. You just figure out what's next. They gave you extra money. That's what's next. They gave you an extra 10 mil just for being there. Bruh, sup with your mans. Sup with your mans. It's never enough for him. Absolutely, positively never enough for him. All right. We previewed it earlier in the stream. Let's get into some mock draft stuff. I'll hit the chat real quick. Magic Man, the Suns have D-Book and Bill. Yeah, and that's not enough. And even if you add Durant, that still ain't enough. KD, another early exit. I mean, how early though? They could get back. They could definitely get to. I mean, they should get to the second round. The question is, can they get to the conference finals? I think with that move, even though they're not a super team, if we're running down how good is the rest of the West as of right now, you got to say they're no lower than third in the West. They're no lower than third. Because who else in the West can make a legitimate jump between the draft and free agency? Who in the West? Dallas, they're looking at maybe Kyrie, and they were allegedly on the verge of moving Kyrie to Phoenix. If the deal would have been right enough, instead of Bradley Beal, it would have been Kyrie Irving. So clearly, the whole Kyrie thing isn't really locked in stone in Dallas. Who can make a jump in the West? A significant jump. You can always ponder the Lake Show, but the problem is that Bron's a year older, and they need reinforcements. They need a point guard. If Kyrie stays in Dallas, where's that point guard going to come from? Fred VanVleet? Like, where's that going to come from? So, unfortunately, much to Magic Man's dismay, Phoenix is probably right now on paper, assuming they keep Ayton, the second or third best team in the West. But we'll get to the mock draft. All right, so I kind of showed it earlier, but there is a scenario where Scoot Henderson goes second. And I want to explore that a little bit more because I saw this great post on LaMelo, and it really talked about a lot of the things that, I've been trying to bring up here in regards to LaMelo. It feels like LaMelo is dangerously close to acquiring an entirely undue reputation as a non-winning player, if that hasn't happened already. This despite making the play-in each of its first two seasons and with a 43-39 record in the second, a mark of overachievement, if anything. This past season was one of lost variety, of course, but he's still only 21, and he's a 6'7" point guard who plays the game the right way, selflessly and with joy. Put a well-constructed squad around that dude and watch what happens. He'll make everyone better, and his swagger will set the tone. Look, I mean, he should be on the Warriors right now. He should be on the Warriors, and all this talk of extending Clay and trying to trade Jordan Poole after giving him $100 million, none of that shit would even be in play if they would have just took LaMelo. None of it. None of it would be in play. But instead, here we are, where LaMelo's out there in Charlotte, and, I think this draft is going to be very interesting. Now that Jordan is on his way out, new ownership, Scoot Henderson will be the more marketable star than Brandon Miller as of right now, based off their personalities, things of that nature. Scoot has a lot of it factor in him. Just like we're seeing the Phoenix Suns' new owner, Ishbia, come in here and, we're going to trade for KD, going to trade for Brad Beal. We're firing, Monty Williams. We're going to bring in Frank Vogel. Like, he's making a lot of moves to put his stamp immediately on the franchise to let you know there's a new boss in town. Is that going to be the case with Charlotte, with a new owner, a new ownership group? Are they going to skew the way of what most would say is the safe fit next to LaMelo? And go with the sexy pick in Scoot? You can make it work. Scoot and LaMelo can play together. Now, you're going to have to figure some things out, obviously. But we've seen teams make it to the finals with no point guard. We've seen teams win championships with no point guard. So if that's the case, why can't we see a team ultimately be a contender with 2 point guards? Hell, the Lakers back in the day won chips in the 80s with 2 point guards. Magic wasn't playing point off rip. Norm Nixon ran point. If y'all didn't watch Winning Time, or if y'all didn't read the books by Jeff Pearlman, y'all would know that. Season 2, by the way, coming out soon for a Winning Time. No ad. So we've seen 2 point guards win championships. We've seen teams with no point guards win championships. So why not Scoot and LaMelo? And if you want to keep it a buck, there's somewhat similarities there where, you know, Magic was 6'9", LaMelo 6'7", Norm Nixon was about 6'3", Scoot is 6'2". I mean, to me, it could work. You still got Boog Knight, assuming he's okay. Miles Bridges is trying to find his way back into the league. I'm not even going to touch that. But in regards to, like, there's pieces there, right? Like, you have an opportunity here if you're the Charlotte Hornets where if you take Scoot, that's a huge swing at popularity. That's a huge swing at staking your claim and saying, this is my team, this is my organization. Brandon Miller's the safe pick. He's the obvious pick. That doesn't mean he's the right pick. Hell, I wouldn't even be mad. I mean, I know it's the second pick, and it's hard to say no to Scoot, but I could make a case if you're really trying to find someone to play next to LaMelo, Amen might be that dude. If you really want to keep, I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with either Thompson brother. But to me, Amen got a little bit more that, I don't know, to me, he just got a little bit more of that shiftiness. He got more wiggle to me than his brother. So if you're really trying to build a roster and build a positionless basketball squad, the pick is either Brandon Miller or Amen. If you're trying to go with, I just want a crazy squad to run with, Scoot. You go Scoot at 2. Y'all let me know percentage chance of the Hornets actually going with Scoot at 2. 25%, 49%, 75%, 90%. Y'all let me know, and then I'll give y'all my answer. But this is where it's that time of the year, and ESPN put out their latest mock draft. They have things the more traditional way, with Brandon Miller going second to the Hornets and then Scoot to the Blazers. And it's just, like, there's not a lot of names you know, right? Unless you're really heavy into college basketball, right? I've been trying to get caught up over the last couple of months in terms of, you know, dudes who I need to just know. And outside of the top 10 to 15, I'll keep it a buck with you, it's just all guessing. I think there's a good, strong 8 prospects in this draft, 8 to 10 prospects that should be real contributors to superstars in this draft. Now, that's a wide gap for 10 players. Like Cam Whitmore, I think he should go higher than 9th. The fact that he's sitting there for the is really interesting to me, because that would be a really low-key steal for them. I'm very high on Cam Whitmore. I think this is a typo. I don't think his last name is Doc. I believe you mistake the O for an I. He can hoop as well. Yeah, I think that there's going to be some really, like, look, we'll be here draft night, so pull up. We'll be doing a watch along for the first round, just like we did for the NFL draft. So pull up and tap in. Thomas saying 49% with Scoot. Okay, I like that. I think I'm more leaning towards 25, just because I don't think the Hornets have the guts to do it. I think that's the outside the box thinking you should have with the second pick. Like, wouldn't it be a great smokescreen if the Spurs didn't take Vic? It would be a fantastic smokescreen if they took Scoot number 1. That shit would be crazy. And then we would get LaMelo and Vic. And then that would be nuts. But anyway, yeah, I don't see the Hornets doing it. I think they'll take the safe route and take Brandon Miller. But I do think if you're trying to change how your franchise is being discussed, change the identity of your franchise, having Scoot and LaMelo as your 1-2, that's problems. That's problems. People are very high on Steve Clifford as the coach. I just think, the roster is bereft of talent, bro. And while Brandon Miller can go, I mean, you pair what Scoot can bring with LaMelo, who averaged 8 assists his last 2 seasons, 6 boards. He plays in the passing lane. Now, he's not good defensively, but the 3 ball right there, 39%, 38%, and he took a lot of threes. People sleeping on LaMelo, bro. Assuming he's if he can get back to what he was and continue to improve his game, you put that with Scoot, man. I think that's dangerous. I mean, the defensive rating, it is what it is. You see it here, or maybe you can't see it there. Let me bring it in a little bit for y'all. Think I could see it better there. Yeah. Defensive rating is not great, 115, 112, so it's gotten worse every year in the league. But for someone that's 6'7" and rail thin, I'm not surprised by that. But you take that trade-off. If you can accept that trade-off with Steph, then you should be able to accept that trade-off with LaMelo. Yeah, I said it. All right, let's see what we got here. So we wanted to get into a few other stories. Where is that? We talked about Shannon. So here's the worst take of the day, and maybe not even the day. As we talked about LaMelo and what the Hornets might do, your man's Nick Wright, who, again, I will always remind y'all, he has literally built his career off being one of the first loudest people to say publicly and loudly into a microphone that LeBron is better than Jordan. That is pretty much the crux of his whole career. That turned him into being a local radio host in Kansas City, Missouri, to being a national personality on FS1. Just by having the take of LeBron's better than Jordan, and here's the reasons why. Now, he could have went the route of the whole plumber angle, but he didn't. He cherry-picked numbers like how these, aggregator accounts do, and he was able to leverage that into a whole ass career. So he is continuing because once you carve out that lane, this is what they don't tell you. Once you carve out that lane, you have to stay in that lane forever. That's why Friday Smith will always be airing out the Cowboys. That's why Drip Bayless will be out here riding for the Cowboys and killing LeBron. You have to find your nemesis or your antagonist or your protagonist and stay there in that lane and just ride it all the way out as far and as high as you can go. So your man's Nick Wright is continuing that LeBron wave by saying Michael Jordan's tenure as Hornets owner should affect his GOAT status. Quote, his ownership tenure of the Hornets was identical to his playing tenure when Scottie Pippen wasn't his teammate. When you're on the crux, when you're 48 hours, or a little bit over 48 hours from the NBA draft, when you're in the middle of Bradley Beal being traded to the Phoenix Suns, when you have Damian Lillard maybe going to South Beach, maybe having Bam Adebayo come to Portland, when you have the enigma that's going to be Big Vic in the Boogie Down Bronx throwing out the first pitch at the Yankee game tonight. This is what you decide to talk about. Because you made a deal with the devil. You made a deal with the devil that if I come with the take and that take goes and it takes me to the highest of highs, I can't ever go back on that take and I have to continue to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on the take. And here we go where Nick Wright has to come out with what might be one of the most idiotic takes of all time. This is what debate culture has birthed, takes like this, because we're constantly going to always talk about LeBron versus Jordan. So therefore, he feels as the chief LeBron protagonist, he has to be able to jump out the window with fact upon fact upon fact to beat down the Jordan loyalists, the Jordan stans. And this is what debate culture has done. Hella problematic, bruh. Hella problematic. Anyway, so we talked about Unc earlier, speaking of former FS1 people. Shannon Sharp is in early talks with FanDuel. Like I said, man, we had this a few weeks ago. We literally had this a few weeks ago where I said, yo, McAfee's leaving that 120 on the table. Who's going to go get that 120? And now we see, most likely it's your man's Unc running over there to scoop up what's left of that $120 million that Pat McAfee left behind for ESPN. I don't know if any of us are going to watch the show. I don't know how many of us actually watched the show with him and Drip. We just saw the clips online, and it makes the most sense to be on a streaming platform that lives more off the viral content, more so than just sitting and watching a stream show all day. So I think this makes the most sense. It'll definitely be way more of a bag than he would have gotten at FS1. Definitely way more control than he would have gotten at FS1. And they're going to pair him allegedly here with Kay Adams, who wasn't she NFL Network, and Michelle Beadle, formerly of ESPN, formerly of a lot of places, I think NBC and all of that. So, I don't know if I'm assuming it'll be a similar type debate show. I don't know if it'll be a Club Shay Shay type thing, like how he does here on YouTube. That's more of a sit-down interview style program. So I don't know. But I think it was just the obvious play. It's the obvious play. If you're sitting across from someone who constantly disrespects you, from constantly, tearing down your credentials as a Hall of Famer in your profession, and I got to wake up at the crack of dawn every morning to do that. Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and take that McAfee bread. McAfee, built his thing out the mud and built it to the point where he could get 10 figures, 9-10 figures, or 9 figures, not 10 figures, 9 figures. If I could build it 9 figures up and then go to, the worldwide leader and have them front the production cost, and then I could actually take a break and still collect 8 figures, I'm going to go do that. But if I'm Unc and I'm out here waking up at the crack of dawn to sit across from someone who I frankly am tired of, oh yeah, go ahead and give me 9 figures. I'll go ahead and build that thing from scratch like McAfee did. And he has a head start because he's doing it backwards. McAfee got it out the mud, kind of bounced around on multiple platforms, and then kind of established himself as a voice and a personality. And then went to, ESPN. Now we got Unc doing it in reverse. He was already at FS1. Now he's leaving that to carve out what we would assume is more of an independent venture with a up-and-coming streaming service. So it's interesting. It's interesting how that goes. All right, so we're just crossing the hour mark. I do have to make some moves, but let's just check. I will show y'all this. This was something that did pop up. I mentioned it briefly earlier. Phoenix reached out to Dallas about a potential sign and trade for Kyrie earlier in the offseason. Dallas presumably wasn't interested in what the Suns offered at the time. If the Mavs were blown away by the offer, logic says that Irving would be a Sun today. So that makes a lot of sense. Again, this is something that we spoke about when once KD got to Dallas. We were like, well, somebody going to go there to play with him because that's just how KD moves. And we always looked at former teammates first. So we looked at the beard in James Harden and we looked at Kung Fu Kyrie. But Bradley Beal beat him to the punch. So now Kung Fu Kyrie probably got to go back to Dallas and hoop with Luka, or maybe see what's up with Bron in LA. I don't know if I see him in Miami. But again, Miami doesn't really, if I'm Dallas, Miami doesn't really have a lot to offer. So we'll see. Thomas in the comments. Yeah, bro, that's facts. Nick, right? I don't even know why he's still in the air. Well, because he keeps talking about LeBron. He's the LeBron guy. He is his job. And see, that's where things, you see, Brian Windhorst has been able to make the move because he was the LeBron guy for the longest time. That's why we know who Brian Windhorst is, because he came up in the Ohio area, in the Cleveland area like Bron. And he rode that as far as he could go. And now he's become a national NBA insider because he came in with Bron. Once Bron leaves, Windhorst has established himself outside of the whole Bron thing. Once LeBron walks away, what's going to be Nick Wright's take after that? And that's why it's harder when you just pick an athlete to ride, pause. Because Drip Bayless, he can do that cowboy shit all day. Fraud A. Smith, do the same thing. He could do that cowboy shit all day. He could do that anti-Knicks thing. He could be the pissed off Knicks fan thing. He could do that all day. Now, though, once LeBron leaves, what's Nick Wright's shtick then? He's taking it as far as he can get. I mean, I think that take was clearly sending a sign to Skip Bayless, like, yo, I'm down to hoop. I'm down to play ball. I will pull up to your show and have takes like this at the ready. So however you want to do it, we could do it. So we'll see how that goes. But let's see, it's about that time. Yeah, it's about that time. Let me roll on up out of here. I appreciate y'all for hanging in. I appreciate y'all for staying in here for about an hour today. Stream probably will be late tomorrow. Got some things in the afternoon I have to take care of. So there will be a stream tomorrow, just not at 4 p.m. Might be more like 6-ish, 5:30, 6-ish. I'll definitely put I always schedule it ahead of time. So lock in, subscribe, working on some clips from stuff from late last week and yesterday and today. So appreciate y'all as always for checking out the stream. For Timeline T, I am the Sam D, a.k.a. Sam Deuce May Jr. Peace.